Welcome into Triple Zeros, the anti-hot take sports show. I'm your host, Josh Buckhalter. Be sure to follow me on X at JoshGBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports. The website is clockersports.com, and the email address is contact@clockersports.com. And, of course, you can always follow the show on X and Instagram, or on X and Facebook. I always do that. On X and Facebook at 30spod. That's the number 3 zeros and pod. And also follow us on TikTok, man. The Clocker Sports is on TikTok. I probably should have been saying that for a couple of weeks now, but the community is growing. We are getting that content out there. A lot of great videos and stuff for you guys after games, after practice and stuff like that. My practice report updates, those things of that nature, all there available for you on the Clocker Sports TikTok channel. Also, if you're watching this video on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share, rate, review, all those great things. Let me know how you are enjoying the show. Let me know what you think can improve. And again, like I said, please inform your friends. Let them know we are trying to grow here. Also, check out the clockersports.com shop to get some gear. We are rolling out some gear too, man. A lot of great stuff going on right now as we are trying to deeply establish ourselves, right, and trench ourselves into the fabric of the sports world here. We already are doing our I think, yeoman's work with the Bears and trying to just grow that and see where that goes, because, you know, if you're not chasing passion, you're not chasing nothing. That's just how I feel about it. So, that being said, let's get right into it and talk about those Chicago Bears. The Bears will not have quarterback Justin Fields for a fourth consecutive week. He is still coming back from that dislocated thumb. Head coach Matt Eberflus spoke with the media today and made it sound like that he suggested, didn't suggest, or whatever. Flat out said that the short week coming off of that Sunday night or that Sunday game against the New Orleans Saints and playing Thursday against the Carolina Panthers did make it difficult for Fields to get back. He's still trying to get his grip strength back, but they did say that he was throwing the ball better today, and he's trending in the right direction. Got to see him out there throwing some passes. I tweeted out again. Follow both the show and the website, Clocker Sports on X, and, of course, 30spod, number 30spod on X. But the Clocker Sports site has the video of Fields getting some passes out to receivers, doing some drills during practice today. Nothing too intense, but just good to see him back out there and slinging the pill. Tyson Bagent spoke with the media today. He talked about, I asked him about, DJ Moore's frustration with not getting targeted. Moore's got like 9 targets over the past couple of weeks, while Bagent has rightfully found other guys to make it work when he can. Darnell Mooney's had big games. Cole Kmet has had big weeks. And Bagent's answer, and I'm going to write more about this for Clocker Sports tomorrow, so be sure to be on the lookout for that. But Bagent's answer was essentially, I'm doing what, going through my reads. He's not going to force anything. He's not, the big game for Mooney wasn't forced. The big games for Kmet were not forced. And so he's not looking to force anything for DJ. He did say, though, that he's aware of DJ's standing in the pecking order. And so I just think that's a very interesting dynamic, because Moore has spoken earlier in the season. We talked about, we heard him concurring with Buccaneers linebacker Levante David that he wasn't being used right. Then he comes out and voices his frustration after that Chargers loss, and now another loss, and he's not being targeted. You just have to wonder if that's something that is starting to weigh on somebody who was very, very seemed to be coming along when Fields was still in there. So maybe when Fields gets back, Moore will get back to his big games and whatnot. But right now, it's a very, I think, tenuous situation. Not saying that Moore's going to demand a trade or anything like that. He's a very upbeat guy. Seems to be very positive about the situation or about his quarterbacks and what trying to make things work. But we know receivers want to be targeted, and he is head and shoulders the best receiver on the team. So I also kind of asked, the formulation for my question was kind of, how do you address it when you know that Moore is being open on the field is a lot different than other guys? And again, Bagent said that he's not going to force it. So I commend him for that answer. I don't think there's many variations of that I probably would have preferred to hear, other than, we're going to try to get him more passes, more looks, and I imagine they're trying to do that anyway, so that's not anything new. On the injury front, other than Fields, Tremaine Edmonds and Nate Davis are still out, as is cornerback Terrell Smith. Davis is, Matt Eberflus said, is trending in the right direction. He would not give any more specifics beyond that. Davis dealing with that ankle injury, and then Tremaine Edmonds is on his way back as well. But neither one will play in Week 10 against the Carolina Panthers. They will, though, the Bears, get Jaquan Brisker back in the secondary as they get that secondary healthy with the starters for the first time. And I want to say since the opener. It might be even longer than that, because I think Gordon was out before then. But long story short, they have not been fully healthy and together very often this season. And so it's going to be good to see those guys back out there. Maybe that'll have a substantial impact on the pass rush. They got a little closer last week against the Saints, but could not get home. Everybody's looking at Montez Sweat. I wrote about that. His impact showed up in the advanced analytics as well as on the tape if you watched it. So go ahead and check that out again, clockersports.com, for both that and the story of the day was Bryce Young and the Panthers coming in. And the Bears just can't afford to lose this game. You are selling the fan base on a multi-year rebuild. You are selling the fan base on a lot of uncertainty because there's still no definitive answer on whether or not they believe Fields is the guy at quarterback. Tyson Bagent's come in and played well, but he's also shown why he was an undrafted rookie. And so I'm very much watching this weekend to see how they approach it. I want to see what their intensity is. They're not saying anything differently, right? But we know the game plan speaks volumes, and I just want to see how locked in everybody is from top to bottom. And then if they do lose, what's their reaction to it? Because again, like I said, you passed on not only Bryce Young in this past draft, but you also passed on Houston Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud. And I'm a big Fields fan, so I just want to know, if you're not completely sold on Fields, what was it that you didn't see in these guys who have, I don't know, Young is more flash. C.J. Stroud has been great this season, so I just want to know what they didn't see in those guys to not be blown away, and how do they justify that while still not being completely sold on Justin Fields? That's where my head is. How are you not able to see this in these guys, but you're not sold on him either? That to me is an odd juxtaposition that I just don't know how you rationalize. Because if you're not sold on Justin Fields at the time, okay, great. Just say you couldn't see it in those guys. That's fine. Does bring up the questions of evaluating talent. And, there's been enough misses on what they've tried to do since Ryan Poles took over to, I guess, sort through. Maybe not question it all the way quite yet, because there's been some good things as well. But there's enough there to kind of just put it under the microscope and examine it a little bit further to kind of see just where they are, heads and tails of things. Again, less than 2 years in all the way, and they're showing some signs of positive signs, some growth, but I would argue that it's just not enough. There has not been enough growth there to, I guess, keep these questions from popping up, right? They may not like them, they may not have to answer them right now, but I just feel like, after 2 years, you've seen enough negative signs to kind of overshadow the positive things that you guys have done since then. So that's kind of just where I'm at with that one. But again, like I said, I am not. I'm a fan of Justin Fields. More than anything, I want to see the Bears be successful, and whatever has to happen to make that happen needs to happen. I would just also think that it would be a lot more comforting for fans to hear a plan that sounds actionable, right? Instead of just kind of cow catching things and letting it come to you. I would think that as management, you would want to kind of present that air of confidence, that air of certainty, that air of control of the situation towards your fan base. Again, this is an organization that's dealt with 2 coaches being let go, right? Mysterious circumstances for both of them, honestly. Had rumors, unsubstantiated rumors of FBI raids, but it's been a circus up there. And you had today, Matt Eberflus talking about Justin Fields is doubtful, but they won't rule him out yet, but he's not going to play, and just confusing people. There's a lot going on to where the positives that are there, and there are some there, just they can't shine because there's so much going wrong. And I just wonder exactly how that all is going to play out long term, because you had Roquan Smith coming out today talking about, or this week talking about he's happy his career is not going down the drain. I wrote about that in clockersports.com. Check that out. It's a footnote on the Bryce Young. It's the things to watch this week. When you have a prominent player in your locker room who felt that way, and maybe some of that sour grapes, and he's talking crazy now because he left, and we know they had the public falling out, how do you prevent that from being a prevalent thought in your locker room? You have other guys who are up for money as well. Jalen Johnson has openly said he wants a new contract, and openly, not complain, but, express some displeasure with how things have gone. When you have people openly saying they're happy their career didn't go down the drain by staying with you, right? And you have young guys. Now, you could say, oh, well, Montez Sweat resigned, Cole Kmet resigned. You threw a lot of money in their faces. The sentiment could still be there. We see it in the NBA all the time. Guys take big contracts just to demand a trade a year or so later. That's an unhealthy thought. I'm not saying it's prevalent in the locker room. I haven't gotten that vibe. I just wonder, how do you prevent it from seeping in when clearly it was that felt that way by at least one prominent voice in your locker room, somebody who I would imagine still has ties to a lot of the players still in that building. A lot of the personnel maybe even still in that building. Ravens are all here contending for playoff positioning, right? Meanwhile, the Bears are struggling to maintain their foothold and not fall all the way to the bottom. They don't want to be the worst team, but they don't want to necessarily be great either. Roquan Smith and the Ravens sitting at 7-2, leading the tied for the best record in the AFC with the Kansas City Chiefs. One game behind the Philadelphia Eagles for the best record in the NFL. Bears are struggling, sitting in third place right now in the draft order. I just think that's a very fine line to walk when you have both of those guys going that way. So we do have, like I said, there will be no Nate Davis, no Tremaine Edmonds. Jaquan Brisker has returned. Khalil Herbert, Equanimeous St. Brown, and Josh Blackwell are all still questionable. They have not yet been activated. But in Khalil Herbert's absence, the last 4 games, we've seen a lot of D'Onta Foreman. And Foreman spoke with the media today, and here's a small clip. The rest of it will be on the Clocker Sports YouTube channel. It's all free. Go ahead and check that out when you get a chance. But this is a small clip sampling of what Foreman spoke today about and answered the question I asked him, just kind of, how does it feel knowing that you can go from being cold, not being used? He was inactive, healthy scratch for the opening half of the season. Last 4 weeks, he's got double-digit carries, 20-plus carries, or 15-plus carries, 14-plus carries in 3 of the last 4 games. 271 yards in that 4-game span, over 4 yards a carry. Like he's producing, and so I just want to know, how do you go from being not used to being productive?
Kind of been doing that for years now, honestly, and I say that humbly, but my last few years, that's just kind of been my life. So I think this is just another go around for me, and I think when I get these opportunities, this is just who I am, and I think I said that. The first week when I got my opportunity, that just getting the opportunity and being able to play, I think I would show people who I am and what I do. I think I've been able to do that. So just trying to stay focused and continue to do that each and every week. I'm not a guy who's playing good this week. Like I'm trying to do that every week. You know what I mean? So just trying to stay focused.
And there you have Bears running back D'Onta Foreman talking about his just staying focused. That's key. When your number's not called, stay focused so that when your number's called, you can get in there and perform the way that they expect you to. And I think that's just a really good story. I thought that he was going to have a bigger role coming into the year. That did not play out. They found Roquan Johnson in the draft. Khalil Herbert stepped up a little bit as the season wore on. So good to see Foreman was able to keep his head in the right place, was able to get in there and show something, and hopefully he'll be able to maintain some bit of a role. I think he's a guy that needs carry, so I'm interested to see how they shake those out once Herbert is officially back in action. Personally, I think they would be better served with going with Foreman and then Herbert in the complementary role, similar to how they've done with Herbert out, with Darrington Evans filling in that role. I think that Herbert would slide in nicely with that, maybe even with more usage, obviously, because I think he did well as a complementary back last season, and I think that maybe you wonder about his durability and holding up, over a full season at his size. So we'll see how that all plays out. Again, check out the article, Bear Downs, the Panthers quarterback Bryce Young is at the forefront of things to watch this weekend, but also in there we're talking about the pass rush, we're also talking about penalties, and then we're talking about Roquan Smith's outlandish, no, not really, pretty much accurate comments. So go ahead and check that out, and then we'll also have something else tomorrow morning about Tyson Bagent's response, his full response, full quote, when asked about how he's addressing DJ Moore's desire for more touches after the Chargers game. And then again, like I said, that he Moore didn't say anything, but that effort, that same output was there in the Saints game. So we'll see how that all plays out. Elsewhere around the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs have caught a little bit more heat than usual, despite the fact that they are, like I said, 7-2 and sitting atop the AFC there with the Baltimore Ravens. The Chiefs beat the Miami Dolphins, but it took a defensive play at the very end there, getting to Tua Tagovailoa to kind of put an end to it. And they have not scored in the second half of the last 2 weeks, I believe that number was. I wrote about it for Last Word on Pro Football, Last Word on Sports, rather. Go ahead and check that out. There's just been, and that's not the only one. There's been a few people who have kind of, not necessarily chided the Chiefs, but pointed out the Chiefs' offense is not doing what we expect it to do, and they've been living with a stellar defensive performance. That defense travels, so I'm not worried about the other shoe dropping as much as I am them needing the offense at some point. You're just going to need it. That's just football. That's the NFL life. That's how it is. You're going to need that offense to step up. Mahomes is going to have to be Mahomes at some point, and as far as making that work, you still need somebody on the other end to make that work. And Travis Kelce is reliable, but he's not explosive anymore. And that was the basis of one of the bases of one of the points in that article. Again, check that out, Last Word on Sports. And you just wonder who's going to step up long term. Rashee Rice has had a bigger role as the season's gone on, but they're still counting on Marquez Valdez-Scantling and unproven Sky Moore. Like it's a very uninspiring wide receiver core for one of the best quarterbacks in history, right, and one of the best offenses in history. They are very much relying on spare parts right now. We'll see if those spare parts can kind of turn themselves into something more, become greater than the sum of those parts before the playoffs finally arrive. Minnesota Vikings quarterback Josh Dobbs, great name, is due for a big payday. There are league executives who believe that Dobbs is a high-level number 2, and they want to pay him as such. I personally, and that's the basis of the story, but I had to talk about it because, like I said, great name, Josh Dobbs, a great name. I'd like to see him be able to get a chance to contend for one of those reclamation jobs, right? One of those spots where they have the project quarterback, or they are in transition from a quarterback who might be on the way out, and he gets a shot to go and battle for that number 1 spot. I think that when you have a high level 2, let's see if he can be a 1. He came in cold and led the Minnesota Vikings to a win in Week 9. We saw him do his thing early in the season for Arizona Cardinals. He's a smart kid, literal rocket scientist. I think I addressed this on the last episode, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But, like I said, man, great name. You got to promote that. I don't know how you don't promote. It's a really strong name. I don't know. I'm just unbiased. My unbiased opinion. It's a very strong name. Elsewhere, the Patriots, J.C. Jackson. First of all, there's two bits of Patriots notes here. First, cornerback J.C. Jackson is a bit of a troublemaker. We knew that his play wasn't that great. He ended up getting traded back from the Los Angeles Chargers to the New England Patriots at the deadline here. But now his role has been reduced, and he's out because he missed curfew. He was a Patriot, so I'm surprised that this is the event that's unfolded for him, knowing how things are done that way in that town, in that organization. But also, wow, is this a sign that Bill Belichick is losing control of the rope there, losing hold of the rope? Because we know it's been a tight ship run by the hoodie himself, right? Robert Kraft is the owner, but he pretty much has been a guy who stays out of the way and enjoys championships. Well, those championships have not come in a while since a certain number 12 have left, and they've struggled in that same time span to even play consistently good football. Even good football, let alone, consistently good. Just play good football, period. And so we're hearing rumors that Robert Kraft could be open to moving on from Belichick, maybe even before the season is over. That to me is such a, I don't want to say a leap and crazy, because, again, like I said, it's been a while. It's been a few years now, 4 years or so, 3 years, something like that. I'm very bad with time frames. You'll pick that up. But it's been a while since the Patriots have contended for a title and haven't even really been a threat in the AFC in a couple of years now since Brady left. So things could be, I guess, devolving quickly there in Beantown if the Patriots can't show, if Bill Belichick can't show some reason for Kraft to keep investing in him and in the way that he runs things. Because, again, we've heard a lot of the stories about they're successful and they do it the right way, but we've also heard a lot of stories of players who did not want to be there because they took the joy out for them. And for a lot of guys, that's important, and I understand that. And so it's always been a fine balance. Without the winning, though, that balance completely tilts to that being a bad idea, because you lose players, you lose the locker room. You lose the locker room, then you might as well not be there. And so I don't think that they're to that point yet, but I think it is very interesting that we're even having this conversation about Belichick as it is. Kyler Murray, Cardinals quarterback, the supposed starter, is set to make his debut, set to make his debut this weekend. I don't know if that is going to help them overall, like if that alters his outlook in Arizona. But I do think that it is going to have a significant impact on the race. Right now, the Cardinals are sitting in the number 1 slot. I don't think they want to give that up. But 2 and 3 are the Bears, in order are the Panthers and then the Bears. Kyler Murray coming back is going to help the Cardinals win some games. That's just what he is, a good quarterback. When things go right for him, again, being diminutive as he is, he needs a little bit more things to go right than the average quarterback does. But he still is able to do it. And if he is able to come back here in week 10 against the Falcons, right? That's only going to be beneficial to the Bears. So here's how I see the Bears. As long as the Cardinals win, the Bears can't lose this weekend. The biggest win for the Bears will not come in their matchup with the Panthers, because no matter what, they'll have the number 2 spot. If you beat the Panthers, like it does, or I think they have 2 wins over the Panthers. 1, right? Is it 3? Whatever the case may be. I gotta look at the records right now, so I'm getting sidetracked here. But whatever the case may be, the Bears can't lose this weekend because they'll keep that top order in position, right? What they really need is for the Cardinals to win a game, because Kyler Murray's return, again, I think will help that, but also it gives them back control of having the top spot, and especially if they get the win over the Panthers and put the Panthers back up there in the number 1 draft slot for this coming 2024 NFL draft. Again, 1-7 Panthers, 1-8 Arizona Cardinals because the Panthers have had their bye week already. So 2-8, 1-8, that would raise up the Cardinals just enough to drop the Panthers right there to number 1, and the Bears would probably still sit at number 3 because they would then move to 3-7 on the season. So they'd still be 1-3. They still have a top 3 selection on their own control, but you would knock the Panthers down. And again, the Panthers while Bryce Young has shown some things, he has not necessarily been able to show the ability to overcome all that is wrong and all that is missing from that Panthers squad just yet. So we'll see how that all plays out. Now, let's get into our Week 10 picks. I did not even get my totals from last week. It's for fun, and I'll probably try to get those picks and then these picks as well and put them up somewhere on either the my X feed or the sites or this maybe even the podcast. I think I'm going to just do mine on Josh G. Buck. Again, follow me, Josh G. Buck, at Josh G. Buck on X. So let's go through them and then just see where we are. I do not think that the Bears can I think they'd have to actively try to lose this game against the Panthers. So I'm going to take the Bears at home versus the Panthers on Thursday Night Football. Going to the Sunday slate of games, Patriots at Colts. This is a tough game, but I'm taking the Patriots at home because the Colts are missing Anthony Richardson. Gardner Minshew is a baller. He's a guy that just goes out in games. But I just feel like it's 8:30 games, start early morning, start overseas. But I do think that the Patriots are just going to handle business because I think Bill Belichick is aware of this pressure. He addressed it. He acknowledged that it could be a thing, but he's focused on the opponent this week. I think they go out there and they handle business against the Colts across the pond at 8:30 in the morning. My gosh. And then you got, that's local. And then you got the Browns and the Ravens. These are always tough matchups. The Browns defense is really tough. Deshaun Watson looked a lot better last week, but the Ravens are just balling out, man. So I'm going 3 home teams in a row to start this slate off. We got the Bears, the Patriots, and the Ravens. And then you got the Packers and the Steelers. This is in Pittsburgh. I hate to go 4 home games in a row, but I haven't seen anything from the Packers to suggest that they can overcome a tough Steelers defense, even if the Steelers offense has not been what they needed to be to do anything serious in the AFC. I still think that they can do enough to get rid of a squishy Packers team, squishier than expected Packers team at home. So give me the Steelers in that one. So again, we're 4 home teams at the start. I'm not happy with it, but that's what it is. The Bears, the Patriots, the Ravens, and the Steelers. Now, you have the Niners visiting the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Niners are not a team that I think is as scary as they have been made out to be. But I don't think that every team is equipped or prepared to handle what they do well enough to take advantage of what they don't do well. And what they don't do well enough is cover in the back end. They have some talented guys back there, but it's not a strength as much as their pass rush, right? As much as their offense. So, especially with Chase Young joining Nick Bosa up there. Like, that's crazy out there. But they're facing the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, and they have Trevor Lawrence. Now, Lawrence, if his offensive line can hold up and give him enough time, he can pick apart, I think, that 49ers secondary. I just question whether or not he'll be able to do that. The Jaguars have been a little bit up and down this season themselves, and the 49ers are getting Deebo Samuel back, which would help Brock Purdy and that offense a lot. And so I think that this one would be my first road game pick of the week is going to be the Niners over the Jaguars on the road. So moving on, the Saints and the Vikings, my boy, Josh Dobbs. That Vikings defense is tough, especially at home. They blitz a lot. They come after you. But we saw Derek Carr. Wow. We saw Derek Carr deal with pressure very well against the Bears. Maybe the Vikings pressure packages are better. Maybe they can get home, but Carr seems to be very much comfortable getting the ball out of his hands quickly. So this one's going to be, I think, the Saints because defense travels, and I'm going to take the veteran over my guy Josh Dobbs, even though I do think that Josh Dobbs is a great name. So, but I wouldn't be surprised if they won this one because, like I said, the tape on Dobbs is not in the system, is not there, right? You got one game and you got his Cardinals tape. You know what to do against the Saints and Carr, but that they're a resilient bunch. So we'll see what happens when they go on the road in Week 10 here against the Minnesota Vikings. I am taking the Saints in that game. The Texans and the Bengals. Love what my boy Cole Reach Bernard Stroud the fourth has been doing this season, but he will not be able to beat Joe Burrow and the boys. But I'll say this though. Now, I say that looking at it on paper, and then I thought about it. It just struck me. T. Higgins is dealing with an injury. Jamar Chase falling his back. It sounds like he's going to be out for quite a while, or at least a couple of weeks here. Right, at least this game. I don't want to speculate. I hate speculating on injuries. Sounds like Jamar Chase is not going to play this weekend. T. Higgins is also banged up. That could impact things significantly. If both of those guys are down, I would probably give the Texans a better chance of sticking around in this one, but as it stands, I'm going to go with the Bengals in a game that they should win handily against a team that's still in the early stages of a rebuild, despite how impressive the quarterback has been. The Titans taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Will Levis at quarterback, taking on Baker Mayfield. This is a guy in Baker Mayfield that I never had bought in versus a guy in Will Levis, who I was high on in his junior season, I believe it was. But last season did not kind of show me the growth that I wanted to see out of him before heading into the NFL, before making the leap. Got into a game and showed that he still got it. So I'm very much back on the wagon. Hype train, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I'm here with Mayo Man and whole banana boy. Like, that's what he does. Whole bananas and mayo in the coffee. I can't pick him over the Buccaneers. Despite the fact that I don't have much faith in Baker Mayfield, I just think the rookie experience is going to plays a factor here. And Baker Mayfield, for all of his flaws, is a talented quarterback and can definitely go on the heater. And the Titans are just not a formidable group. Like, their defense is tough, but they're just not a team that scares you at all. And so I can't, in good conscience, ride with them on the road. I just can't, especially with the rookie playing. The Lions at the Chargers. The Chargers played the Bears well in week 8. And then went against the Jets in week 9. But I do not, and they beat both of those teams, but I have zero faith. I mean, I say zero faith. I don't have as much faith that they can do what they did to those two teams, to the Lions, who have their own formidable offense, have a defense that can get after it and after you as a passer, and is explosive. The Chargers have not shown that kind of explosivity as they have in years past, and so give me the Lions on the road versus the Chargers. Falcons and the Cardinals. How many more games we got through this week? I got to get to the NBA still. Let's roll through this rapid fire, shall we? Let's do it. Falcons at the Cardinals. Give me the Falcons because at least they know what they're doing. And if Kyler Murray plays, I give them a better chance, the Cardinals. But I'm going to go with the Falcons here because I think that their defense is playing a little bit better than advertised. And Taylor Heineke gives them a spark on offense to kind of score some points. And the Cardinals are still trying to sort through, just what they want to exactly be now and in the future. So give me the Falcons in that game. It's hard to pick a bad team on the road. So again, I'm not saying this with much faith, but I'm taking the Falcons over the Cardinals. Giants over the Cowboys. Come on, man. Come on, man. We got Anthony. What was it? Anthony Costanzo. What is his name? They got the guy from Illinois starting the quarterback because Daniel Jones is out. Tyrod Taylor's hurt. No, we good. Give me the Cowboys on that. I'm not even going to. Just not even reason to spend a lot of time on that one. If the Giants are to win it, they're going to need the defense to pitch a shutout, and I just don't see that happening. Cowboys in that game. Seahawks and Commanders. Commanders are in transition right now. I think that they'll make it interesting, but give me the Seahawks. Jets at Raiders. The Jets are looking for the kind of spark that the Raiders got by just switching head coaches. Now, they might not fire Robert Saleh, but they need something to get them over the schneid or off the schneid or over the hump with Zach Wilson in there until Aaron Rodgers feels like he may or may not come back. So give me the Raiders in that game at home, despite the fact that I think the Jets have a better defense. Oh, man. I'm looking at it again. I kind of want to take the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets. Zach Wilson gets him one on the road against the Raiders team that's going to be fired up at home. I'm just saying. They're going to be fired up at home. So I wouldn't be surprised, again, if that goes the other way, but give me the Jets on Sunday Night Football in a game that I think will be the determining factor in Aaron Rodgers' decision to return or not. Book it. There you go. And then on Monday Night Football, we have the Bills and the Broncos. Come on, man. Like, Russell Wilson's playing a lot better than people might want to give him credit for this season. The Broncos' struggles are not, really him this year. Give me the Bills. As much as the Bills aren't reliable either, as good as they are, they're still not reliable, but I'm taking them over a woeful Broncos team. Let us switch gears and get into some NBA conversation. There are a ton of games on tonight, so we'll tap on a few of my favorites that I'll pick at the end of the segment here. But, before we get into any of that stuff, let's talk about some of the other things that are going on around the league. Shams Charania announced that the NBA is discussing a 2-day draft process where they would pick more time for the first and second rounds. That's the goal there. Personally, I don't like it. And I say that because I don't think that if the first round should be a lot quicker. And I don't mean to be quicker than what it is. I'm saying, like, I know that things change, but you've had months up to that point. I'm not in the front office, so this is why I'm speaking out of a place of ignorance and in the fan experience. You had months to decide your first round pick and have options off of that if your number one option wasn't there and what you wanted to do in those scenario situations. So I find it hard to believe that you need more time for those picks. I could see it for the second round, but in the NBA, so few second rounders pan out to be much of anything. How much extra time will help you make those guys become that? Are you going to add another round where the third round then becomes that? Like, I don't think the NBA's draft is deep enough for this. I don't think that the talent pool is really deep enough because I think that you honestly could short it way out so many of these picks don't pan out, but that's another story for another day. This conversation, I just don't see the benefits of spreading it out for another day. With the NFL, I don't like it there either, but there's so many picks that it's only logical to spread it out over a couple of days. So I just don't see the NBA having the same. It's only two rounds deep, and you've had months to prepare yourself for the first round. Maybe you want to move the second round to another day just so you can have more time for that. But if they increase a significant amount of the time that they allowed in the first round, man, that would just, I think, be a detriment to the overall product. And it's a fun experience for people like me who overload themselves on sports. That's a great one. I love watching the draft process in both leagues. 2 days for the NBA draft seems like a hefty amount there. LeBron has a foul gripe. Wrote about it for Heavy on Lakers. The Lakers sent the league clips of their loss to the Miami Heat and several what they feel were missed calls. The last 2-minute report showed that the game was called cleanly. LeBron did not appreciate that. Took to social media to kind of express himself and just pointing out that that's not the only part of the game where things mess up. So I guess he was kind of alluding to this. It's really useless because if you're an NBA official, all you have to do is make sure that you're locked in those final 2 minutes, and the rest of the game, it just kind of goes by the wayside in a lot of fans' eyes because they don't talk about it as much. So the Lakers did send the clips in. LeBron explained, like I said, that it wasn't. It's not just the last 2 minutes. You can go ahead and read that story on Heavy on Lakers. But I also retweeted an article on my handle on Josh Ebuck about the people who have benefited and been I guess disparaged or have not benefited, whatever. There's a word for it. It's escaping me right now. Who have benefited from foul calls the most since 2015. I want to think I say the year is to start off with, and James is right there at the top with Nikola Jokic. So he's got a legitimate gripe, and his playing style, you would expect him to take more than 4 free throws a game, and he's on pace for his lowest free throws per game and all that. The free throw rate is all the way down. So he has a legitimate gripe by the numbers. But I don't think that people perceive that kind of stuff well. I just don't. I just don't feel like that's going to be something that is going to be. Now, he might get a few calls here and there, but we'll see what happens as the year goes on, especially if the Lakers aren't competitive. I think that's another sign. Like how much of the benefit of the doubt are you getting because you guys are actually doing, a powerhouse in the NBA, and they don't have that look right now. So we'll see if they can get it back. But he's got a legitimate gripe. We'll just put it there. We'll leave it at that. He's got a legitimate gripe. That point blank in period. John Wall is said to be open to joining the Phoenix Suns in a reunion with Bradley Beal. So a lot of the talk around the Suns has been how they don't really have a pure point guard. They're letting Brad Beal be the point guard. You add in John Wall to that, and I think you got to kind of look at the Suns in a whole different light. If he could stay healthy, if he's even a fraction of what he was. I haven't seen John Wall play substantial minutes in 4 years. So I don't know what he's going to bring to your team, but even sparingly, he'd be the best point guard on the team. He's the best point guard on the team, and that's not to take away what they think Beal can bring, and what we've seen Booker do as a lead guard type of player, right? But they're not Optimus Dime. All right, my boy was named Optimus Diamond. He probably doesn't have the speed or even close to it that he once did, but the vision should still be there. The IQ should definitely still be there, and so that's something that I think is very, very intriguing. We'll see if it plays out, but I am highly, highly intrigued by the possibility of seeing John Wall on the Suns with Brad Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker, just because I think that. Like I said, he'd instantly be the best passer on the team. I don't know how much less he can give you, but I think he raises your ceiling in terms of a half-court offense exponentially just by his ability to run an NBA offense. So let's run down the most interesting slate of tonight's games. I think the Sixers and the Celtics is a good game. Give me the Celtics. I told you, I just think that the Celtics are going to be a powerhouse in the Eastern Conference along with the Milwaukee Bucks, which is not breaking news, but the Sixers are not even a complete team at this point. I think this could be one of those losses that lets them realize that they're not yet. Now, I could be wrong. They could win, and then they'll tell me to shut up. But I feel like this is one of those games where you kind of measure yourself against the opponent and say, oh, okay, no, yeah, we're really still far away, and we got to go find a third star. We'll see what they do about that. Wemby taking on the New York Knicks. Wemby said that Madison Square Garden did not live up to the hype. I can only imagine how the MSG faithful are going to handle that. Clippers and the Nets. Yeah, give me the Clippers. The Nets will be without Ben Simmons in this game. Lakers and Rockets. I'm interested to see Dylan Brooks on LeBron James because Dylan Brooks doubled down on his, garden, poking bears and whatnot. Brooks is having a stellar season. And while he might still have some of the antics, he's been efficient. So now you got one less thing to rag on him about. And man, that's all you need. I like his attitude. I like his approach. I like his mentality because again, this is a guy, if you remember coming out of college, Dylan Brooks wasn't supposed to be anything. They didn't think Dylan Brooks was going to make it to the league, right? They said he had to work on his shot to become a spot-up shooter. He's one of the best defenders in the game. Hats off to Dylan Brooks for that, man. But I am interested in seeing that game. Give me the Lakers in that one, despite the fact that Dylan Brooks likes to poke bears. Pelicans and Timberwolves, I don't really care, man. These are two teams that I think are destined to be blown up. I am an Ant-Man fan, though, so while he's on the floor, give me Ant-Man over Zion them. But I think both of those organizations are headed for a breakup. Heat Grizzlies, that doesn't really do much for me. Phoenix Suns, Beal will make his debut for the season against the Bulls tonight, so that's something to keep an eye on. The Bulls apparently are a soft landing spot for teams because that's something that you do when you feel like you can ease your way back into it. That's what you feel like. That's when I'm gonna suit up for this team. That's what the Bulls are. They're an ease your way back in team. Deal with that. Cavaliers and the Thunder. I don't really care about that game either, but I do like Donovan Mitchell, and I'm a big fan of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and really the whole thing that the Thunder are building. I think the Cavs are kind of one of those hodgepodge teams where they put it together, thoughtfully, but it's not what I don't think that it's really there. I don't think that the group is there for them to be a high ceiling team. Pistons at the Bucks. Come on, man, give me the Bucks. Raptors in the. I've realized that I've ended up going through every single game. That's fine. Did I pick the Heat Grizzlies? No, give me the Heat culture. Grizzlies have just been terrible. Raptors at Mavericks. Give me Luka and them over the transitioning Raptors who don't know what they want to be either, kind of like the Bulls. Kings Blazers rather. Give me the Kings. The Blazers are still a young team trying to figure out their way, and then you have the Nuggets and the Warriors. The Warriors are not going to have Draymond Green for the night. Give me Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. I don't think I picked the Bulls-Suns game. Give me the Suns. I just think that there's too much firepower for the Bulls to overcome. Now, the Bulls defense is going to step up tonight, and maybe they do some things and make it work, but I just do not see it with, again, the four alphas over there in Phoenix. And maybe you see John Wall in the stands. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with it. That's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Josh G. Buck, on X at Josh G. Buck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports. Website is clockersports.com, and email address is contact@clockersports.com. And, of course, you can follow the show on X and on Facebook at 30spod. That's the number 3 zeros in pod. Follow the site on TikTok at Clocker Sports. Hit up the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, share, rate, review, all those great things. Help us grow. And read the stuff, man. Last Word on Sports, Soaring Down South, heavy on Bulls, heavy on Lakers, and of course you can read everything at clockersports.com. And until the very next time, you already know what it is. I'm gone.